Thank you, Steve. I am so excited to be here tonight to tell you my story. You know, it's a story about a girl with big dreams and how she became an engineer chasing the solar eclipse from 100,000 feet. So my journey began, as so many do, with an amazing teacher. In high school, I was actually a musical theater nerd, but my teacher, Mr. Searstead, he saw something else. He thought that the only girl in his technology class should consider a career in mechanical engineering. Now, I had no idea what an engineer did or what that even meant, so Mr. Searstead pushed me to enter in this awesome competition that actually sounds a lot like the ones that Mrs. Lemelson supports. And that competition changed everything for me, because in it, our team had to take a block of plastic and we had to turn it into a manufactured part in just a few hours. We won the gold medal as state champions in Oregon. Thank you. It was great. But that competition, it was so exciting and it was fun, but it was real. And that's when I figured it out. You know, engineers make the whole world work, and I was in. So fast forward a couple years, I'd gone off to college in Canada, but I hated it. So then I returned home and lived in St. Helens, and then I also hated that too. And I was just like searching for the right path. And I found that path at Portland State University. Because at PSU, I found opportunity everywhere. And right away, I dove into my classes and activities. I volunteered at student resource centers. I joined tons of clubs, and eventually I was selected as a student ambassador. You know, someone who represents PSU like events like this one. You'll see them with the blue blazers and the khaki pants. And then one day I realized that, holy crow, I was a leader, that I was someone that people actually looked up to. And it was this revelation, because I started to understand that even though you might not actively choose to be a leader, your actions make you one anyway. And you don't have to have all the answers yourself to help other people figure stuff out. And honestly, I was struggling to figure my stuff out. You know, at that point in my PSU journey, I had just taken on way too much. I was striving for perfection in my classes, and I was trying to navigate the world of as an engineer, as a woman of color. You know, I don't have peers and mentors who look like me, and they're hard to relate to, and that can be really hard. And some days, the challenges felt insurmountable. And then I decided that I needed a break from school. But what is funny is I didn't have to leave campus to find my next opportunity, because I became a PSU employee in the facilities department. And when my supervisors realized that I could do more than just crawl around in the boiler rooms, they encouraged me to make meaningful contributions to the campus. And all the things that I did during those years, you know, managing the projects and the people, sweating the details and solving problems, it all reminded me that I was born an engineer, and it was about time that I got my degree. Thank you. So, my first step was talking to the engineering academic advisors. Now, I was embarrassed to talk to her about how I thought that I had screwed up and how lost I was feeling, and I actually didn't think that I could cut it back into the engineering program. But she looked me in the eye and she told me that I could do it, that I had to do it. And I will never forget that moment and how important her words were to me, because she gave me the courage to start again. And so I went back. But it turns out that engineering school is a challenge. And since I had been out of the classroom for so long, there were things that I had to relearn, like my calculus, all the while learning newer and harder things. You know, I was also working 32 hours a week, and my friends had all graduated, and then after a year of just grinding away, I desperately needed inspiration. And I found it in Dr. Mark Weislogel. He is a brilliant mechanical engineering professor at PSU. And Mark announced in class that he had a project that was guaranteed to rekindle our childlike sense of wonder. Yeah, I was in. And that project was this. So the coming solar eclipse offered a rare opportunity to collect important data. And we would launch weather balloons 100,000 feet into the atmosphere to do it. Now, to put this into perspective, other universities were planning on launching one balloon to live stream the eclipse. Mark thought we should launch 5. And on top of that, design a totally unique camera system to capture eclipse images. Okay, so he wanted to take horizontal images that look like this, connect them at the ends like this, and then later we would fill in the middle. That way we would have a 360-degree panorama of the eclipse shadow, because, you know, why not? So he needed a team of 3 students to kickstart the project, and I was one of them. And what is so exciting is that the 3 students he selected were all women. And this is us. So that's me with Olia Stevens on the end and Harmony Ewing. And Harmony, she's actually here with us tonight. Thank you, Harmony. Now, there were times when Olia, Harmony, and I thought we were crazy to attempt this. You know, because we had to find or create the right equipment, you know, run complex calculations, and then design a payload that would survive in subspace. And so we brought in PSU alumni and all of our friends to help. On top of the leadership I was working in, I personally spent hundreds of hours running my 3D printer to design and print prototypes, and I broke that poor thing twice. Probably 3 times, I don't know. It still needs repairs. You know, and we had to coordinate 40 volunteers and manage the logistics of the launch day. And we have to do it against a hard deadline because you cannot reschedule an eclipse. So now, when we fast forward to launch day, for us it started at 3 a.m. And our team had to fill balloons, a lot like these ones here. You know, we had to reassemble our payloads, and we had to test everything. Because if something did not work, we had to fix it right then and there. And then there were hundreds of people and TV cameras, and they were watching our every move, capturing the excitement and the drama of the day. And let me tell you, there was so much drama. But by the time I let go of that 5th balloon, I felt limitless. And then the eclipse began. And our team finally had a chance to relax. So not only did we experience the magic of totality on the ground, we were also able to capture it at 100,000 feet. And here it is. You can see at the top how small the sun looks when it's eclipsed by the moon. There are no filters on the cameras that we used. And then you can see the slight curvature of the Earth. Isn't that, it just gives me chills. I still look at this photo and it gives me chills. Now look at this. This is an animation of the eclipse shadow on our 360 panorama, right after we filled in the middle. For any of you who were in totality or around totality, this is what was happening. it was the most amazing and the most emotional day of my life. And I got this opportunity because Professor Weislogel and so many at PSU saw something in me. You know, they gave me this space. The space to learn and the space to fail. But most importantly, they gave me the space to achieve. And people who view a total eclipse often describe it as a transformational experience. And for me, my time at PSU was my transformational experience. And when I think about Eclipse Day, it reminds me of everything that I've learned and everything that I've found at PSU. You know, my engineering intuition, my leadership courage, a community of friends and supporters and professors and advisors who believed in me before I believed in myself. And there aren't many ways to make my Eclipse Day more incredible. But on that day, I stood beside my mother and both of my grandmothers, women who had wanted so much for me, who encouraged me to stick with my education. They got to watch me just take a deep breath, let go of that balloon, and watch it rise. Thank you.